it's a lot of action within the PDP as the former vice president and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, has expressed optimism that the crisis plaguing the party will be resolved long before the general election, as the G5 governors are holding talks towards reconciliation with him and, of course, the party. Now, the party met with the presidential candidate met with former head of state Ibrahim Babangida at his Mina mansion on Friday, where they talked about the issues of reconciliation. And of course, the governors are saying that reconciliation remains the best option in the major opposition, saying that the crisis of confidence will eventually go away and pave the way for a much more stronger and united PDP. It was also noted that Atiku's recent visit to Babangida is a sort of morale booster for the party, as the former military head of state is trying his best to ensure that the PDP resolves this crisis before the February election. Well, to discuss this update on Atiku's meeting with former military head of state Ibrahim Babangida over the G5 imbroglio is Honorable Debo Ologunagba, who is the PDP National Publicity Secretary. He's also a former member of the House of Representatives. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can see you full of smiles here and there. Is this some sign of good news in the main opposition, PDP, after this intervention by an elderly statesman? A lot of people thought that former military head of state Ibrahim Babangida wouldn't have any interest in the things ongoing in the PDP, but with his intervention and with what we have heard, that Jonathan is also interested in resolving the issues in your party, is it some sort of good news for members?
Well, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. I think it's actually a good news for the country. It's actually a good news for the direction that we're taking. And we must commend the effort and the statesmanship of President Ibrahim Babangida. He's been a stabilizing factor for this country. We know his pedigree even into the journey into democracy with the SDP and NRC at that time, and we know that his legacies will continue to be here for a very long time.
Until he had to scuttle that same transition process. We must add that.
Again, that is a human nature, of course. That is part of our history. But I'm sure he recognizes that, and he knows that he has a place in history. And that's why I say the issue is not just about the PDP. It's about our country. It's about what we need to do, and the fact that every man of goodwill in this country, particularly elder statesmen. You just referenced President Jonathan now. These are all products of the PDP, and we must recognize that. General Babangida was at some point, and is still a member of the PDP, even though now he's a higher level of calling in terms of statesmanship for the country. President Jonathan is a product of the PDP, and is still a member of the PDP. They recognize their role in history, and they know that this country, the unity of this country, is very important. The country that has provided them a platform to be who they are, world citizen. Again, embedded in that is the fact that the PDP, like I always mention, is an organic party that has organs, that have processes, that have procedures, and that allows inbuilt in that mechanism a process of resolving differences. I have told you severally, we don't have crisis, we don't have dispute, we have differences. And this is in tune with human nature. When you have people coming together, particularly in a political setting, there are interests, there are emotions, there are other considerations, but the ability of any party to be able to reconcile these differences is what makes it a party. Because in a country, especially ours, with so many tribes, so many ethnic groups, we must have that capacity to have the balancing thing. And that's why we provided the nation with a man called Mr. Unifier, Atiku Abubakar.
Well, the national chairman of the PDP, Yoche Ayu, is at the heart of this issue, and the calls for him to just resign or be kicked out or whatever. I mean, the G5 governors just want him off that seat. Is Atiku Abubakar finally ready to have a conversation on that issue?
again, I know that as a fact that Atiku Abubakar has only had conversation. We're at Ibadan. During his consultation with the zones, in the Southwest zone, he was at that meeting, and I was there present. And this demand was made publicly. And he said there two things, and he established that. The desire and the request for Senator Ayu, the party's chairman, to resign as a personal decision. But if he's going to go through the other process of removal, there's a process within the constitution of the party, and he's for that. He declared that he can work with anybody in this country. That is to show his credential as a unifier, a man who has his DNA rooted in every part of this country. Atiku Abubakar is a party man, is a constitution man, is a man of process and convention and rules, and is there to abide with that. In all of this, what is important is, which I have emphasized severally, is the fact that this party has capacity embedded using the various organs, from Governors Forum to NWC to NEC to Board of Trustees, and of course, the elder statesmen that are members of this party, or not even members of this party, were willing to open up to have conversation. And I'm happy, and I've said this severally here, that our governors, they are responsible leaders of this party. They've contributed immensely to this party. They are beneficiaries of the platform of this party, and they have come into limelight and to prominence in this world by reason of this party. I know that they will not pull it down. And I want to make a particular...
Is that the reason, sorry to interject, is that the reason why Bala Mohammed had to write an official letter to the PDP national chairman to lay his complaints against Atiku Abubakar, rather than, maybe take the same route like the G5 governors who didn't write their own, but they've been saying it openly?
Yeah, communication can come in different forms. Conversation can come in different forms. It can be by writing, it can be by just speaking. But what is underscoring all this is the fact that the PDP is truly a democratic party, where people can express their views, where we have a conversation, unlike the other party, where you have a silence that looks like there's calm, but it's the silence of the graveyard. In our party, we encourage conversation. We want you to have a discussion so that we can now understand ourselves and then be on the same plate and then work together, not just for this party, but for this country, because it is more urgent than ever that we come together to rescue and begin the rebuilding of our nation. That's what everybody is looking for. That's what Nigerians are looking up to. Our message of rescuing and rebuilding has started resonating from the election they've just done in Osun State, in Plateau State, in Cross River State, and even in Abuja, where the most populous part of this city, including where the city of government was won.
Now, has Bala Mohammed's concerns been addressed? Because, he wrote that letter with the Speaker,
yes,
Deputy Governor, everybody in the state signing it and said, look, Atiku Abubakar is fighting against my re-election. And a lot of people were startled because just when Governor Nyesom Wike had made that statement that the G5 is open for reconciliation, only for us to, hear him coming with such a letter. And it looked like another war front had been opened.
Again,
have those issues been addressed?
I think you need to look at the trajectory. I think we don't put one before the other. Number one, there was a letter. When that letter happened, because again, like I said to you, several of the attractions and activity of the PDP in the area of reconciliation is not something I come in before the clear and speak about. There are beneath this, the surface movement. Even the meeting with President Babangida, of course we didn't announce it in advance that we're going there. You can only have that information about breaking news. That is the essence of reconciliation and discussion. If the particular reference that you made, there was a letter, immediately, the Director General of the party, the former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, and the party chairman went on a visit to Governor Bala. You probably don't have that information. And in the process of that...
we reported that.
Yes, okay, fine.
We did.
Now, when you did that, beyond that, there was another meeting in Abuja with the president candidate immediately came back from the United States. Probably you don't get to hear that. What I can tell you today, what you heard yesterday, of course, if you ask now, it will be different because this is an ongoing process. Reconciliation is not a 100-meter dash. It is a marathon.
Isn't it because maybe it's beginning to dawn on the PDP that you could lose this election if you don't reconcile? The governors are not calling for reconciliation because they really want it, or the presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar calling for reconciliation because he really wants it, but because they know that if they don't unite, PDP is on its way of losing. Is on its way to losing this 2023 presidential election.
You're micro considering this. This is beyond the PDP. It's for the country, and I think that should be the underlying.
How do you mean for the country? I mean, can't Nigeria exist without the PDP coming back to power?
No, but the point is this. We are an organized society, we are a democracy, and we expect to have choices. Nigerians have been able to determine now that in 16 years of the PDP, we know what it was in terms of life expectancy, in terms of the economy, in terms of security, in terms of sense of belonging in this country. And we all know in the last 7.5 years, we know what it is. Even as little as the price of rice, today it's about 52,000. It was $7,500. The dollar rate then was 160 to a dollar. Today it's 900 plus X, where X can be anything tomorrow. Again, the stability, everybody look forward to a better tomorrow. And in the interest of the Nigerian people, having regards to the fact that our messaging is resonating to rescue, because we know that we're in trouble. I recall that Governor Otom said, and I'm quoting, he said, this country is sick. How are we sick? Because the economy is in shambles. The disunity is completely out of tune. The inflation we can't control. The concern of insecurity. I just came back from Benue State, and we went with how many policemen? We can't even stop on the road, the joy and the fun of traveling by road. That shouldn't be. And we can't have a government superintend over that kind of crisis and then Nigerians will not be involved. So it's not about party beyond us.
Yes, I mean, you've raised something very important there. The issue of Atiku Abubakar and Governor Samuel Otom is also another war front that was opened during the week. But Otom had to apologize to the Fulani ethnic group, saying that, look, he didn't really mean that another Fulani cannot be president and all of that. Why does it look like PDP is in a civil war? I mean, causing problems here and there, all within itself, instead of addressing the issues of what it hopes to do if it comes back to power.
Again, I must take you back to the basics. The grace, which is embedded in the PDP, is the ability to say, I'm sorry. That is the character of our party. That is what you saw Governor Tom showed by the apology. In this party, I have been here on this platform to say that as a party, we recognize that certain things could have been done differently when we were in power. And we have recognized that. That is the grace of a party. That is the character of men in the party. Unlike the APC that has never been wrong on anything. Or they never agree of anything. When people were killed in Benue State, the president said, oh, I didn't know that the IG didn't come here. When people were killed at the toll gate, the Minister of Information came on air to say nobody died. Denial. We don't deny. It is the ability of a party to recognize that, yes, they are not infallible, but that they are able to make amendments and improve because government exists for the welfare and security of the people. So the moment any government begins to deny the real thing, then of course it is time to go. And then I know that Nigerian people don't like the APC anymore because it has failed woefully.
Well, and that's by your own calculation.
Absolutely.
not calculation of Nigerians, because it's left for voters to decide.
Because we're all here. Some, my brother, you feel it. You probably won't admit it on air, which is okay. But you know that you go to the same market like every other one of us go to. Except you don't go to market anymore because your wife goes there. I know you, at some point you might need to buy stuff that are imported in dollars. And you go to the market today, tomorrow you can plan. What does that do to economy? It means small scale or even big companies cannot plan. The budgeting is always cascading. And it becomes a dynamic and riotous setting. So we don't want that. But coming back to the issue that the PDP you made reference, we have always been on point. We have always been on the issue of conversing with Nigerian people. And that's why Atiku Abubakar came out with his covenant with Nigerians.
For lack of time, I just have to ask you this question just before we go very quickly in less than 60 seconds. Is Atiku Abubakar afraid of presidential town hall meetings like that conducted by Arise or debate? Why did Atiku send Okowa? Because the Labour Party was hitting hard on your presidential candidate.
See, again, this is Atiku that has met your team, even when it was not fashionable, when you didn't agree for that. He called you on an exclusive interview, so he cannot be shy of that. Atiku Abubakar was on his way from the United States. At the time, he was flying in from Morocco into Nigeria. And he said, well, if I get him before that time, I'll be present. Atiku Abubakar is available anytime, anywhere to debate. But again,
so we hope to see him in other presidential town hall meetings and debates.
The APC presidential candidate has publicly said that he will not be appearing. Nigeria has the right to know. He must appear, he must speak to us, to all the questions, including those cases, including the name, including the age, and everything that is relevant in this election.
Ologunagba is the National Publicity Secretary of the major opposition People's Democratic Party, and of course is a former member of the House of Representatives. Just like you have thrown a challenge to the APC, we hope to see Atiku someday in town hall meetings and debates, and it has to be very quick.
We are very soon.
That. All right.
But with the condition that you will bring the APC candidate because he can't run away from the people. He must speak to them. That's why.
Well, that's what the Labour Party is also saying, that if the Tinubu and Atiku are not coming, then it will also come. Well, we must thank you for...
Atiku is always available. Nigerians they know him, so he's not running from anybody. He's
all right, Ologunagba, we must thank you so much for being on the show. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of This Week. Remember, your voter's card is your power. Go get it, and of course, be prepared to exercise your voting franchise in February. Stay with us. I'm Somna Sambo. See you next week.